from Westminster Central Hall, central London, in a hot and humid English summer, and welcome to the 2014 Water and Food Award. 842 million people on this planet of about 6 billion don't have enough to eat every day. Some people even here in London are malnourished by normal standards. 748 million people on the planet have no access to safe water every day. This award is for people trying to fix that in a sustainable way and to put clean water in taps and safe and fresh food on every table. Water and food for all is the slogan, if you like, and share sustainable solutions. And I'm going to be a bit more formal for a moment, if I may. The Humanitarian Water and Food Award celebrates groundbreaking initiatives in assuring global water and food security, and it shares global best practices and facilitates effective partnerships among award winners, advocacy groups, responsible businesses and research bodies. I'm Steve Bradshaw. I've made dozens of films about environment and development for BBC, for Al Jazeera, television for the environment, most recently one called Future Food. And with me is Stephen Hinton of WAF. What most excites you about these awards?
Oh, what excites me most is that we have a positive message. So many organisations talk about all of the problems, and then it just makes people feel really guilty. What we're trying to do is have people celebrate the fact that people can be fed in a way that doesn't hurt nature.
So you're trying to get a positive message?
Absolutely, yeah.
Not a message of despair and depressing, but it is a bit depressing, isn't it, really, when you look around here and see the state of food security?
It is a bit depressing, but I think unless we can come with a positive message, people won't open up to be aware of how the situation is. So we're hoping that we'll open up people a little bit.
I got involved with Water and Food for All because I think it's very important that we think of the next generation. And I believe with my input being the Zulu princess from South Africa, I have means and power to make a difference for the next generation to come. And having it here in Westminster, it has a privilege, and join forces with other countries. It will make a big impact when we go back to my country.
Well, we've got a 1-minute video here of some of the best ideas and some of the finalists, in fact, the 5 finalists. They come from several different continents.
They do, absolutely. We've got one from America, we've got 2 from the African continent, and we've got one from India.
Let's take a look at that video now.
The Centre for Holistic Management in Zimbabwe has successfully managed to mimic the behaviour of animals. The animals used in this process have become efficient agents of soil regeneration, and this has led to the rehabilitation of the natural ecosystem. By doing so, they have managed to stop desertification. By helping to educate young people who live in urban food deserts, Growing Power, based in Milwaukee, has developed urban spaces into innovative solar-powered food centres. In cooperation with local business, the food that is produced is distributed within the neighbourhood and schools. Living Land South Africa inspires people to bring their social capital to the natural landscape. Landowners, subsistence communities and experts share their knowledge to create a holistic approach to the conservation and restoration of the local landscape. So far, more than 1,500 hectares of land have been reforested. In some areas of Kenya, limited access to food and clean water causes hunger and sickness among children. With just 20 laptops, the SENA e-gardening initiative has engaged school children in e-learning programs on water harvesting, livestock raising and cottage food industries. Soil erosion and degradation in 5 regions of India has led to chronic food shortages. Based in Chennai, India, this foundation was set up to combat this. After recruiting more than 5,000 locals, the organisation has begun to share their unique knowledge and skills to help develop sustainable farming systems.
One point that struck me in talking to some of the finalists was that they are both entrepreneurs and cooperative as well. I was struck by the fact that a lot of people here and the finalists are into both.
Right, yeah. That reminds me of the Chinese saying, if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go with others. And I think what they're showing is how you can combine this wisdom of both of them. Entrepreneurs reaching out and doing things, showing leadership, but coming together to solve the problems.
There's a lot of causes, but the WAF Awards are very good at selecting extremely inspiring projects. I've been in touch with Stephen Hinton, one of the organizers, and have been interested in also being part of the whole application selection process to just learn about all these amazing initiatives. And I think we really need that today. We need more inspiring examples, and the finalists that we have today are extremely inspiring. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about their projects.
What do you most hope to learn yourself from what we're going to see now? What are you looking for yourself? What should we watch out for?
What I'm really looking for is the birth of a narrative of water and food for all, and how it can happen, and who can be involved and how they can be involved.
So as we watch the ceremony unfold, we should be looking for what exactly?
We should be looking for a new story of water and food, a new story of a new human experience, humanity turning a corner, leaving the 100 years of war and finding a new way.
Okay, well, let's watch out for that from Hella and Paul, who will be our MCs on the stage.
50% of the food grown is thrown away.
Most of the world's land that is turning to desert.
Limited access to food and clean water causes hunger and sickness among children.
Millions of men, women, and children are suffering and dying.
The vital question we have to ask is, can this destructive process be reversed?
People tend to think of us as the future generation, but why not be the now generation and be a key part of solving things ourselves?
When you don't have the basic needs covered, you lose hope.
Hope. We have forgotten how to be human.
Welcome everybody back from the masterclass this afternoon. Thank you for engaging and thank you for being there. And a warm, warm welcome to all of you who just arrived and joined us. It's really lovely to have you all here. This is Paul and I'm Helle, and we're going to guide you through the next hour of heartwarming music, of keynote speech, of harvesting the masterclass, and of course, the prize giving by the end.
Absolutely. I'd like to start by introducing a very special young lady. She's just 13 years old, and she started playing the piano when she was 7. And she very quickly started winning competitions and festivals around the country. When she was 9, the great Chinese pianist Lang Lang heard her and invited her to play at the festival hall just across the river. And she's a pupil of a wonderful woman, Emily Jeffrey, who is one of the world's greatest piano teachers and coaches, who happens to be in the audience with us today. And this young lady is a fan of romantic music, in fact, and we're very fortunate that today she would like to play for us some romantic music. And this particular piece, some of you may know, it's Rachmaninoff's Preludes in C# minor. So please give a very, very warm welcome to Faye Evans.
you, Faye. Thank you, Faye, for giving us this warm musical experience. This woman over here is really something special. She's the reason that we are all here, actually. In 2006, she got this crazy idea, and she worked on that ever since. She got this wonderful idea to why not point at the best practices in the world, the best hand-on practices to actually secure water and food for everyone. And why not bring them to scale, tell the world. And she's a real good attractor. She's a convener, she's a gatherer, and she's a speaker. Well, I'm going to invite you up on the stage, Tina Lindgren, the founder of the Humanitarian Water and Food Award. Please greet her. Do you have the certificate? Ikke noget. Certificate. And I'm going to invite Paul up here as well to introduce the patronage that is going to be...
Surely. There's a very special man here with us today. And Tina, as you just heard, founded the Humanitarian Water and Food Awards. This man was actually the inspiration that led Tina to do that. He has been speaking about peace for over 50 years, starting when he was 4 years old. And in 2001, he founded the Prem Rawat Foundation, and it's dedicated to bringing food and water to the poorest people in the world, as well as a message of peace. And his message is that there's an inextricable link between peace and everybody having enough food and clean water. And one of the great things that the foundation does is 3 facilities, and they are called Food for People. And they're just great. One is in India, one's in Nepal, and one's in Ghana. And they provide food and water and hygiene education to the very poorest children in the world. And it's really difficult to overestimate the incredible impact that this actually has. To start with, these children live rather than die. Not only do they live, they have nutritious food, and so they grow up healthy. And because they're healthy, they're able to go to school. And not only go to school, they're able to concentrate. And because they're able to do that, they're able to get an education. And because of that, they grow up and they can get jobs, they can create jobs, and so they're able to lift themselves, their families, and their entire communities out of poverty. So the impact is truly massive. The man in question has won so many awards, it is extraordinary. He's an ambassador for peace. In 2012, he won the Brand Laureate Lifetime Achievement Award, a very, very rare honor. Nelson Mandela, Hillary Clinton, among others, have won that. I first heard him speak, I think 3 years ago, at the Brussels Pledge to Peace, which is a Europe-wide initiative really committing to peace. And I heard him again yesterday, in fact, in Parliament, at the UK launch for the Pledge to Peace. This man is visionary, he's inspiring, and he's very wise. So I'd love you to give a huge warm welcome to the extraordinary Prem Rawat to receive the very first patronage for the Water and Food Awards. Prem Rawat.
Should I take it? Yes, I can hold it for you.
So, thank you, and I think that was quite an introduction. I don't know if it's all true about being wise and all that, but I must say that there's something very phenomenal about trying to reach out and really recognize those people who want to make a difference. I think, and the word that comes to mind is exceptional pioneers. Those people, because nothing happens in a vacuum. First of all, you have to have a heart that says, do something. Do something for all that's wrong. All that is wrong hasn't been there by nature, placed by nature, but by the arrogance and ignorance of human beings. The amount of greed that exists in this world, I don't think there is a gauge scale for it. It's off the scale. And yet, we can try to take challenges that say, well, we should do something about it. Or, to the credit of those people who say, listen, whether that happens or not, people are suffering, and let's do something about it. To see, to focus, to recognize, and to exhibit exceptional pioneer, to be an exceptional pioneer, to make a difference in this world. Some 8 years ago is when I had this idea of recognizing in some way those people who make a difference. And that's how WAF has been in the making for 8 years. Tremendous work that Tina has done, tremendous people that she has pulled together that is allowing us to be in this place today, recognizing those people. So thank you very much, and it's a great honor to be affiliated with this beautiful, wonderful program, Water and Food Awards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prem. And now we're going to turn our attention to this young man in front of me. Let's see how young you are. 11 years old is Ayrton Cable, and he's been campaigning for almost 3 years now against factory farming, against hunger, and lots of other things. And sometimes when you want to understand that walk the talk is important, it's good also to start at an early age. So I'd like to welcome you on stage to actually present the Humanitarian Water and Food Youth Award. So the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to see you all. It feels a great honour for me to serve the WAF Award and to work with the amazing people here. The initiatives that made the WAF Award final are really fantastic. People often talk about kids as the future, and I guess in a way, we are. but I like to think of us as the now generation, because we kids can make a big difference now, while we're still kids. So that's why I'm excited to be launching the WAF Youth Award. I think we could get not just a few thousand, but actually millions of kids working on feeding everyone in the world, no one left out, and making sure no one lacks safe water. We kids tend to be idealistic and are networked by the internet in a way that no generation has ever been. So I think if anyone can finally crack this problem, it's us. We have partnered with UNESCO, Skype in the Classroom, International School Meals Day, Future Foundations, Mosaic, Unlimited, and some other great organisations to help make this available to kids worldwide and lead up to the WAF Award in 2015. This award is, I think, unique. And we've created it in partnership with an initiative called the 100 Hours. It's ironic that, in a way, we already know what to do to feed everyone in the world. For example, we could see that in the incredible initiatives that made the final here today. So, if we already know what to do, why is the world putting huge energy into scaling these things and ending hunger? I think what's missing, very simply, is enough care, enough commitment, awareness, responsibility, and empathy. If we had enough of those things, we would do what needs to be done. So the WAF Youth Award will recognise kids' efforts that focus specifically on people's hearts and minds and building the care we need in the world to feed everyone once and for all. A lot of things for kids are created by adults who don't really understand how we kids think. So we want to present this to kids in a way that we will find exciting and really want to commit to. I'll leave you now with a short introduction to the series.
Hi, now you're probably thinking of turning off this video, but trust me, don't, because I can guarantee we'll keep you entertained, we'll have a load of laughs, and we'll make you want to change the world for a better place.
I don't know, it's hard to imagine, isn't it, that 1 in 8 people in the world wake up hungry every morning, despite there being more than enough food, I should say, to feed the world's population.
Jonathan Swain is live in Malawi in Africa for us this morning. Jonathan, what have you found there? What can you tell us?
We travelled here to Malawi with a 10-year-old British schoolboy called Ayrton. After a school project, he wanted to come here to Africa to see what he could do to help. He met 10-year-old Mapangano.
Is this your house over here?
Ayrton here has 3 meals a day back at home with drinks and snacks. Mapangano, though, survives on just a handful of maize every day. At the end of his trip, Ayrton had a message for world leaders.
Mapangano is my friend. He suffers because of hunger. We need to change this. We need to end hunger.
So, now you've seen the problem, we think we have a solution. But we also want to know what you think. Subscribe to our channel,
like this video and comment below.
Post a video response.
Visit our Facebook.
Follow us on Twitter.
And use the hashtag.
You are a change agent. Your mission? Feed everyone in the world, no one left out. Your method? Liberate the world from the enemies which stand in the way. Never in the history of civilization has any agent succeeded in this mission. Your enemies are dangerous. They are strong and numerous. They are devious and manipulative. They may be in disguise. They work together in gangs. They infect the hearts and minds of men, women, boys and girls everywhere and control them. Because they live in hearts and minds of people, they are inner enemies. Worst of all, if you are careless, they infect your own mind. And when they do, they take control and you don't even realize what has happened. The inner enemies have identities: apathy, indifference, cynicism, ignorance, stinginess, defeatism. Every one of these inner enemies, even by itself, is bad. Together, they are a disaster. They have the upper hand in the world today. Defeating them will take all your strength. But the inner enemies can be beaten. The only way to beat these enemies is to build up your powers to super strength. They also live inside people's hearts and minds. They are the inner powers. The inner powers are what you need to change the world, and they are your protection against the inner enemies taking over your mind. Their identities are commitment, courage, generosity, conscience, optimism, empathy. As a change agent, you will need all your resourcefulness and ingenuity. You will work to rally the inner powers. Those inner powers will liberate the world from the grip of the inner enemies. You will join forces with other change agents because only by working together can you get strong enough to win. Join the Liberation Campaign now and make your mark.
You probably get this as a game, but this is not just a game. This is a game you're playing in real life. So all the time you spend tackling your inner enemies.
Ignorance.
Apathy. Defeatism. Selfishness.
Indifference.
Stinginess.
Fear.
And all the time you spend building up those inner powers.
Courage.
Optimism.
Generosity.
Awareness.
Focus.
Empathy.
Commitment.
You're saving lives.
You could be earning your way to an incredible prize.
In June 2015, you could be on stage at the Water and Food Youth Awards at the World Expo in Milan.
Ice cream.
Pizza.
Lattes.
Gnocchi.
Architecture.
Football.
Statues.
Fountains.
Fashion.
So make sure you subscribe now, sign up now, and do it now.
Thank you, Ayrton. Some of you may know an organization called El Sistema. El Sistema is actually from Venezuela, and it's a truly extraordinary way of using classical music to bring up, develop, nourish, and nurture young people, particularly from deprived areas. And it's now spread across the world. There's a place actually not very far south of here, Bromley, which kind of reminds me of El Sistema. They have an amazing orchestra, symphony orchestra, and the orchestra has a sister, which is a choir, and we're very lucky to have them with us today. They have a very, very broad-ranging repertoire all the way from Bach to Copland, from the Beatles to Michael Jackson. And in fact, it's Michael Jackson that they're going to sing for us today. And some of you may remember in 1985, Michael Jackson teamed up with Lionel Richie. And this was a few weeks after Band Aid for the famine in Africa. And the single that they wrote sold more than 20 million copies, one of the biggest selling singles of all time. So to sing for us, We Are the World, please welcome the Bromley Youth Singers.
Thank you so much, Simon Sanders Man and the choir, which we're going to listen to later tonight. Thank you so much. We're happy that you come back later. Now, some very exciting things came out of the conversation I was a part of this afternoon at these World Cafe tables during the masterclass. I don't know about everybody else, but we're going to listen to some of the key points now. And I'm going to invite first Charles Perry, whose specialty is green business. He worked with Al Gore, and he was also advising David Cameron on climate issues. So he is one of them who is surely accelerating towards transformation, towards a more sustainable world. So please welcome Charles Perry. Over there.
Thank you.
Yes, and you already got a mic.
I've got it, that's good.
Yes, but I would like to introduce also our other harvester, and that is Mr. Ramesh Kent. Mr. Ramesh Kent, he is, was the award winner of this award, was it 4 years ago in 2010? Right? And you're going to have that, yeah. And that was with Greening the Desert Project in Jordan. He is a European representative of the Permaculture Research Institute. And Charles and Ramesh, you are now going to take us through some of the key points that, some of the ideas, some of the things that came out of the masterclass this afternoon. So, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Hedda. Great to be back on the stage. We had a very productive session earlier, and welcome to the people in the room that weren't here earlier. So I'm Charles Perry. I was chairing this morning. I have a business called Second Nature, which I've recently sold, and we're all about sustainability. And one of the things that I've found out today, which I really wasn't aware of, is that the Water and Food Awards is all through volunteering. And that really is quite a profound thing when you think about it. So people have come here to help put today together, and many of them have funded their own costs. And this is extraordinary when you think of how much work has gone into today. The team that comes from all over and includes some fascinating, very busy people who've given up of their time to be here to pull this together. And I'm going to do something slightly unusual because I've noticed that we are very fortunate to have the business secretary, Vince Cable, Ayrton's grandfather, in the back of the room. Welcome. And talking about extremely busy people who've given of their time to be here, it's really wonderful. I mean, of course, you've come to see your son and your grandson in action, but no doubt you know quite a bit about what's going on here, Vince. And it's great that you've taken your time out of your busy schedule to be here. And I think it's important, that we're all aware, whether we come from business like myself, or government like the business secretary, or NGOs, the third sector, of what's going on today. I mean, Tina and Ayrton were on Sky News this morning with Eamon Holmes, and all of this is through volunteerism. They are being the change that we were talking about earlier. I think we should give them a round of applause. You ready, sir? Are we ready?
I believe so.
We're going to share this microphone.
Yeah, I think we're going to be a bit of a tag team.
Okay, so
I'll jump off the top rope.
Do you want to first introduce yourself, Ramesh?
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Ramesh Kent. I represent an organization called the Permaculture Research Institute, which is actually based in Australia, but we have branches located around the globe. We are primarily an educational nonprofit, but we also set up demonstration sites demonstrating a lot of the ideas that you find within permaculture design, which is it's a design science that's primarily concerned with the manner in which natural systems are pieced together. And a lot of what we try to do within the design science is to really mimic the successful and effective patterns that you find in nature, the functional patterns that you find in nature. And we often use this to address many of the problems you find in regions where you see a great deal of land degradation, desertification. We do a lot of work in the Middle East and North Africa, the Gulf, Central Asia. I just came from Somaliland, so we work in the Horn of Africa as well. And I think you'll find that there are often a number of very common features that you see within those landscapes which can be effectively addressed by utilizing a science like permaculture. And I think when you are able to effectively address those problems using a knowledge-based approach, many of the things that we find ourselves seeing in the world that we don't like as it concerns things related to security or politics or the like, we know that they're very intimately connected to problems related to landscape. And so this is one of the things that we try to apply within this particular region so we can begin to address those problems in a much more meaningful manner.
So as harvesters, some of the things that we heard as we roved around the room, I mean, I'm just going to throw in, I was sitting at a table with lots of young people, and they were talking about, well, can we make this more fun? Sustainability is a long word. How do we make it more fun and engaging, and how do we engage the youth without talking in very intellectual terms or sophisticated terms or using lots of difficult words? How do we just make this simple and fun and engaging for young people?
About three and a half, almost 4 years ago, John Liu and I met in Switzerland at an event called the Co-Forum for Human Security. And I was very excited to meet John because I became familiar with his film, Hope in a Changing Climate, and it spoke to a great deal of what we were doing with our work. And the reason why I was so keen to meet him was because he works in media, and he's concerned with creating narratives that are connected to this work, to creating narratives, compelling narratives that are connected to concerns related to water and food. And I think this speaks to what Charles was just mentioning about making this something that's engaging, making this something that's compelling. We human beings respond to great stories culturally, historically. That's the way we've always worked. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. And I think one of the things that has come up from many of the discussions that we had during the masterclass was sort of thematically, we have to create stories that are connected to this particular activity, that are compelling. It makes people want to get involved. It makes people want to care. It moves people to action. And when I say action, meaningful action, it's not enough to want to do well or to want to do good or to want to do better. Stop wanting to do good. Stop wanting to do better. Do good. Be better, right? Get out there and do something. instead of wanting to do it. And I think a lot of this is very much connected to creating narratives so that it's compelling to young people. So it's compelling and it moves communities, right? It moves regions, it moves nations. And this is one of the things that I believe WAF is helping us to do, is to create narratives of success and narratives that are engaging so that we can hopefully get more input, which will enable the spread of the work.
And indeed, the whole theme of this week has been about action, you know, less talk and more action. And yesterday, many of us were in the House of Commons for the Pledge to Peace. And we were hosted by Baroness Scotland and Hazel Blears, and there was an extraordinary group of people in the Gladstone room in the House of Commons. And we signed the Pledge to Peace. And the Pledge to Peace is just about doing one little thing today. Action. And of course, when we've been listening this morning to different conversations, people have been saying, well, if we all continue on our own individual roads, trying to look after ourselves in our little silos, we're going to have conflict. But if we work together across cultures and religions and languages and take the trouble to understand each other, then we can start to develop solutions that are collaborative. And this reminds me just of the challenge of speaking in a language, and I'm not even sure I'm doing it right now, that everybody understands. We have people from all over the world in this room. We have people who speak all sorts of different languages. We've heard wonderful stories this morning. And the question is, are we really understanding each other? Are we listening to each other? And are we speaking in a language that we all understand without assuming that the other people that we're speaking to actually get the same meaning that we do? Because we all come from different experiences and perspectives. And only by harnessing those different experiences and perspectives are we going to be able to provide a holistic solution to the challenges of sustainability.
I think to continue with the theme of language and how critical language is in pushing a lot of these things forward, we were discussing on the side a Joan Baez lyric that came to mind, and I just happened to see this a couple of days ago in my Facebook feed. And it was the lyric, action is the antidote to despair. Action is the antidote to despair. And I think one of the reasons why we see so many people despairing in the world is because they don't know what to do. They don't have the knowledge, they don't have the training, they don't know how to put the pieces together that will allow them to do things that will actually change the condition that they say they don't like. Right, so I think a great deal of what we're talking about here, and this is something that I believe is demonstrated in the projects that are eligible for the award this year, and it's certainly applied to what it is that we have been doing at PRI, is that we're trying to enable people to be able to change the things that they say they don't like about what they see in the world. So a lot of this is about education, it's about knowledge transfer, it's about creating stakeholders. It's about trying to integrate different types of capital, and I think we have to remind each other that there are different kinds of capital. We're in here in London, and this is the center of finance. This is a center of finance. I grew up in another center of finance. I grew up in New York. That's another center of finance. But it's not the only type of capital that we need to pay attention to. There's living capital, like natural capital. There's experiential capital, right? There's human capital, there's spiritual capital, right? There are all of these different types of capital that we need to give value to, and we need to integrate them. And we have to value the differences because there are deficiencies in each of those different types of capital. There are deficiencies in each of the individuals that may become involved in an effort, and by combining our efforts, we cover each other's deficiencies. So we have to begin to put those things together so we can create a more complete picture and address these issues.
So just winding up, it's back to, what is this big word sustainability that lots of people have been talking about today, and our different pieces in the puzzle of how to solve the issues that we face around sustainability. And of course, put simply, it's the ability to be sustainable. But I just want to take you back to a more purist definition, which is the original Brundtland. Gro Brundtland was the Prime Minister of Norway, and she put together a commission that defined sustainable development in the late 1980s. And this was the definition: meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So clearly it's about, using today's resources so efficiently that future generations are guaranteed that they will have survivability, rather than using everything today as if there was no tomorrow. And this is a very topical point wherever you are around the world, because of course we've just been through the Great Recession. So what have we learned from the Great Recession? We got into the Great Recession because of unsustainable practices. So hopefully coming out of the Great Recession, we're all going to be doing things more sustainably. I'm going to do something slightly unusual, but I just want to get Tina back up here for a second, and I'm going to ask the Business Secretary just for 1 minute to come and join us, please, Vince. A warm round of applause. So I just wanted to very briefly, not totally put Vince on the spot, but it is a bit of an unfair thing to do. But because Vince is very big on sustainability and has done a lot in this government on this agenda, I just very quickly want to ask you for an observation of today, and if you can sort of maybe tie that into the broader context as you see things.
Yes, you mentioned the Brundtland report a few minutes ago. I think probably more important than what I do in the government, I actually helped to write that and helped to coin that phrase. So I believe in it, and it's motivated a generation to understand why environment is important and not just rapid growth. I first encountered the issues you're talking about here. I was a student. I'd hardly ever been abroad. And a group of friends, we decided to buy a van, and we drove across. It was completely insane, but we drove across from here to India via the Soviet Union, via Afghanistan. Anyway, we got there. And when we crossed the border into India, we entered a state called Punjab, which now is regarded as a very highly successful part of India. It's the breadbasket of India. But the year that I arrived, 1965, was the last great famine in northwest India. And as a highly impressionable young student, I saw starving people by the roadside, people giving away their babies, these horrible things that you see in famine. And so from a very early age, an impressionable age, I began to understand why the issues you're concerned about here matter. It also taught me that these things can be turned around, because what happened there was new technology, new rice, new wheat seeds, combined with good use of water, better scientific farming, a lot of hope, and endeavor actually turned that whole thing around. And I believe that internationally we can do the same. And so I think the effort you're making here to mobilize people to understand why water matters, why food production matters, to a combination of practicality and idealism. This is really what I think you're about. I think we've seen it work, I've seen it work, and I wish you well in everything you're doing.
Thank you very much, Vince. And before you go, one just last thing, because of course it's very important to get business involved, and both our ex-big corporates. So Vince was at Shell, I was at BP. And neither of those two companies, in my view, are doing a great job on this agenda right now. But meanwhile, some other big businesses like Unilever, General Electric, Marks and Spencer's, Waitrose, the Co-op, we've got Brian here, etc., are doing a fabulous job. And I guess the question is, what can we do together to really get more businesses to be putting back into society and the environment rather than taking away from society and the environment?
Well, I'm more positive than you. I don't actually think that big companies are necessarily the enemy of sustainable development. Actually, as you said, I work for Shell. They did some bad things. Big companies do bad things. But actually, when I first joined them, which was the late 80s, they were the first company, ahead of the Greenpeace, Friends of the Earth, that actually understood that global warming was real and it was happening. And they started adapting to it. They moved from coal into gas. Now, of course, they're commercial. It was in their own interests. But these companies have the capacity to understand the way the world's changing and have the capacity to develop the technologies to make it better. And I don't regard them as the enemy. I'm not uncritical, but they have the potential to change. And I regard them as partners.
Very good. Very last one. Very nice. The very last one is, of course, many people are wondering, to what extent the British government is really leading on climate change and sustainability, now that we've seen the Obama administration and the Chinese really upping the ante, and given that we were one of the leading countries originally on this topic. So the question is, how can the British government work more closely with leading businesses to make sure that we play a strong leading role on this agenda?
Well, I think we are leading, in fact. So there's a lot of resistance. If you read some of our popular papers, there are people writing articles every day saying that climate change doesn't exist. You've got other people saying, well, it may exist and we're willing to do something, but we're not willing to pay for higher energy prices. So there's a lot of denial and a lot of resistance, but we are trying to turn this around and give leadership. I'll just take an example from my own department. We're promoting what we call an industrial strategy, trying to think long-term, working with British business to get the British economy on a sustainable basis. And one of the things we're doing is trying to build up the British renewable energy sector. Offshore wind, for example. I helped to set up, and it's now running, a green investment bank. It was the first in the world. And it finances offshore wind, it finances waste disposal, industrial energy efficiency. We just financed the fitting of new light bulbs in Glasgow throughout the whole of the city under this scheme. We're trying to build up in the UK a supply chain, the people who manufacture the turbines and the stands and the electronic transmission systems that underlie those windmills in the North Sea. So we are thinking long term. We do believe if you work in partnership with business, you can get these things right. We do believe there's a price to be paid. These things don't happen free. There's a cost, but it is a cost worth paying. And we believe that within Europe and globally, we are exercising leadership in recognizing this challenge and dealing with it.
Thank you very much. Let's give Vince a warm round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hopefully, the British government may help fund the Water and Food Awards going forward.
Woohoo! Okay, right. Thank you. I'll keep you up here, dear. Because we heard about the harvest before, but I know there's a lot of work that's been going on at the tables, and people are very eager to know how can we bring that out of this room. So what will this award do to actually help to convene, measure it out, give the message to the world?
Right. Well, we are definitely going to do webinars as a follow-up to this. And we are definitely going to continue to support our award finalists and implement this knowledge that has come about. And we definitely also encourage all of you to take with you what you have learned today and apply it tomorrow, or even today after you leave.
Exactly. And you can always post on your Facebook the insights that you got, and you can start work tomorrow. Isn't that okay?
Okay, we take a little rest and then we move on.
Okay. Tina, we're now going to do something very important tonight together. So I hope you got the envelopes ready.
I think mine
has. Okay. Because we're going to start the prize giving. And it's been very difficult for the prize giving committee, the selection committee, to actually choose between these. It's actually not fair because they're all so amazing. And we are going to just have a little look at the finalists once again.
The Centre for Holistic Management in Zimbabwe has successfully managed to mimic the behaviour of animals. The animals used in this process have become efficient agents of soil regeneration, and this has led to the rehabilitation of the natural ecosystem. By doing so, they have managed to stop desertification. By helping to educate young people who live in urban food deserts, Growing Power, based in Milwaukee, has developed urban spaces into innovative solar-powered food centres. In cooperation with local business, the food that is produced is distributed within the neighbourhood and schools. Living Land South Africa inspires people to bring their social capital to the natural landscape. Landowners, subsistence communities and experts share their knowledge to create a holistic approach to the conservation and restoration of the local landscape. So far, more than 1,500 hectares of land have been reforested. In some areas of Kenya, limited access to food and clean water causes hunger and sickness among children. With just 20 laptops, the SENA e-gardening initiative has engaged school children in e-learning programs on water harvesting, livestock raising and cottage food industries. Soil erosion and degradation in 5 regions of India has led to chronic food shortages. Based in Chennai, India, this foundation was set up to combat this. After recruiting more than 5,000 locals, the organisation has begun to share their unique knowledge and skills to help develop sustainable farming systems.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't there at the judging, but I heard that it was unbelievably difficult to decide. So what you've just seen there is 5 truly groundbreaking, innovative, extraordinary initiatives. And Prem and Tina's work has really been to bring the very best projects in the world together, to acknowledge them, to showcase them. So, how do you decide between that? Hair-splitting stuff. So what they decided to do is to tie 3 of the organizations for 3rd place. And Tina, would you kindly come over here, please? And I believe you're going to welcome Her Royal Highness on stage, am I right? So, Your Royal Highness, if you would kindly come up, please. Tina?
I'm so honored and so happy that Your Highness, Your Royal Highness, is willing to accept patronage, the 2nd patron of the Humanitarian Water and Food Award. And you have set such an example by founding the Royal Botanic Gardens in Jordan and protecting biodiversity and protecting the species and showing the many, many people your good example. And so I'm so pleased. And actually I was introduced to Your Highness via our award winner in 2010, Ramesh Kent. And it has been an extraordinary journey.
Indeed.
And thank you, Ramesh, for this introduction. And now I'd like to present you with the certificate.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Were you supposed to say anything? No? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad al-Habib. First, I would really like to thank you, the WAF and Tina, to honor me this duty and responsibility, especially amongst the Honorable Prem. It's nothing to take lightly. I've learned a lot from all the programs and all the initiatives that have been displayed today here. And I really am inspired by every single initiative. I've learned a lot, and I wish to take a part of it back to Jordan and apply it. And there's one thing I would like to share. When I first started working in environment about 15 years ago, it was a struggle. It wasn't easy. But one thing that kept me going is in the belief that even one small person can make a change. And I've seen this today in all the initiatives. And I think you're an inspiration. Your work is not just limited to your own geographical position, but through the WAF, you've made it available for everyone else. And there's so many other projects around the world that are feeling that they're alone, that they're the only ones who are going through the challenges, and I'm sure you know all the challenges, but it's not over yet. This is only just the beginning. It's the tip of the iceberg, and we have so much more to do, but there's so much hope, and if we listen to our inner strengths and deny our inner enemies, as you said, or demons, we can do it, and we can only do it together, and you're not alone, and I'm so glad that I've been given this privilege to serve, and I hope to be able to give back as much as I've learned today. So thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Envelopes? The envelopes.
So, we now have a moment of truth. So, Your Royal Highness, if you would kindly open the first of our highly commended finalists, please.
Our highly commended initiative is the USA Growing Power. Congratulations.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much.
Scott, Robin, and Brianna Allen.
And Your Highness, the second one?
Optimist.
The optimist.
If I do like this, Paul, what does that mean?
How could I
Yeah, the
forget?
optimist.
How could I forget? Some of you may have been wondering what these things are on the piano. Now, I truly wish that I could actually show you what this actually is, because you would not believe it. We're very, very fortunate to have as one of the sponsors for the Water and Food Awards the Hoptimists. So imagine this. Imagine you could combine the power of optimism. And think about that, you know, that blue skies thinking, that can-do attitude with the power of the ability to hop over any obstacle you possibly come across. So the Hoptimists are supporting WAF, and inside here is a very special gift. We don't have one, do we? Yes, I have to show you this. This is just brilliant. So this is a symbol. This is a symbol for optimism. This particular one is green. I wish, perhaps I can show you on the piano. I will probably get crucified for doing this on this 25,000-pound instrument, but basically this thing bounces like this. It's very, very symbolic. And so, Your Highness, and Growing Power, I do apologize. So if you would kindly come up, please, and receive your gifts.
Adriana Allen. Thank you.
Okay.
And the next highly commended finalist is Kenya. Sinat.
Machero Karuko and Purity Katono Machero. Put it on. Machero Karuko and Purity Katoni Machero from Senate, Kenya. Optimist.
We cannot go without the optimist. Right, and lastly, but most certainly not leastly, our third, tied for third finalist.
Our highly commended finalist is South Africa, Living Lands.
Dieter van der Broek and Marijn Swingels from Living Lands, South Africa. Also an optimist for you. Thank you so much, Royal Highness, for helping with that.
It's very rare, in my experience, to find somebody who is both an extraordinary artist and at the same time an extraordinary human being. Somebody who is both brilliant at what they do artistically and who has great humanity. And there's a very young man, relatively young man, I'd like to introduce you to. He's just 17 years old, and he started playing the piano when he was 6. And for the past 10 years or so, he has grown and matured beyond imagination. And he is now one of the world's leading pianists of his generation. I mentioned to you earlier Emily Jeffrey, the wonderful coach and teacher, who happens to be also the teacher for this young man. He has won pretty well every award, every scholarship that you can imagine in this country. And some of you will have seen him just a few weeks ago on television because he won the BBC Young Musician of the Year competition. I'm particularly grateful to him because I happen to know that tomorrow morning he is sitting his A-level physics exam. And I feel actually terribly responsible because if he doesn't do very well, I don't know what I'm going to say to him, because it was me who kind of talked him into this. But when I told him what this was about, without question, he wanted to come and play for you. So I'd like to welcome the wonderful, the extraordinary Martin James Bartlett.
Martin. One can surely understand why they made this young man win the competition. Thank you so much, Martin. It was wonderful. Oh, I got goose pimples all over. The first time that I heard about Prem Rawat, it was, I think, 3 years ago. There was a friend of mine in Denmark who said, "Would you like to come with me to Barcelona? I will pay for everything." Why? Yes, because there's a man. I want you to hear him speak. You want to pay everything for me to go to Barcelona to hear a person speak? That must be a very special man. And ladies and gentlemen, you will see for yourself. Prem Rawat, please enter the stage. And now we're going to hear your keynote speak of the evening.
Thank you. I would like to keep it fairly short. I know it's been a long day for everyone. Short is good. And today I'd like to begin again with a little story. Because I think what's happening here is incredibly noble, incredibly profound. But at the same time, we cannot forget the importance of peace. Without peace tying the fabric together, I'm afraid everything we do will eventually come undone. Because if people are going to be just engaged in their little silly understandings, in their little worlds, in their little greed, in their little problems, I'm afraid that what we see today, the world in this jaws, in the paws, in the claws of so much anger, so much war, that there is really nothing there to stop that from happening again, except for peace. So the story goes something like this. It's from an old time. So there was a king. And this king was very fascinated about heaven and about hell. It just so happened that the king had to go and have a fight, a war with the neighboring king. So in this, he prepared himself, but as he did all night long, he's thinking, if I die, am I going to go to heaven? Am I going to go to hell? If am I going to go to heaven? Am I going to go to hell? And then all of a sudden it dawned on him that he didn't really know what heaven was, and he didn't really know what hell was. So now the question on his mind, what is heaven? What is hell? What is heaven? What is hell? The next morning he got all ready, mounted his horse, huge army behind him, off he goes. And he's thinking, what is heaven? What is hell? What is heaven? What is hell? He sees a wise man coming the other way. And he just thinks to himself, well, there looks like a wise man, and he must know what is heaven, what is hell. So he took his horse, galloped away, and stopped. The wise man said, hang on, I have a question for you. Wise man stopped. The king got off his horse. And the king said, tell me, what is heaven and what is hell? And the wise man said, listen, king, I don't have time for this. I was on my way, I was going somewhere. All of a sudden, you come in, you stop me, and you want to know what is heaven, what is hell? The king was furious. He hadn't slept very well the whole night. He has a simple little question, but here's the wise man. The fight is going to begin, the battle is going to begin very shortly. And all he can tell him is he doesn't have time for him. The king said, do you know who I am? I am the king. All I wanted from you was for you to tell me two simple little things. You pretend to be wise. You're dressed as a wise man. You look like you are a wise man. And yet you refuse to help me? I mean, furious. I'm not putting on the voice, otherwise I think I'll blow out the PA system. The wise man looked at the king and he said, King, now you are in hell. The king realized, wow, this guy is wise. I am feeling pretty bad. This is hell. This is profound. All of a sudden, he turns to the wise man and he says, oh my God, you've opened my eyes. Thank you so much. This had such a profound change on me. Oh, thank you. And the wise man said, King, now you are in heaven. In a way, all our efforts that we are trying to make, whether it is sustainability, whether it is to feed the hungry, whether it is to bring clean water, in our own little way, we want to create a little heaven right here on earth. And who will ever blame us for thinking so wildly? Because that is a wild vision. To want to create a little heaven for us and for our fellow beings. And to leave a legacy of that heaven for the generations yet to come. So they keep on living the dream of creating the little heaven in their time, for the time ahead of them. It is true. One day, I mean, this is still in billions of years down the road, this earth won't be there. This earth won't be there. Human species, as we know it, on planet Earth, will no longer exist. What are we doing? What are we doing not understanding and recognizing and embracing humanity? When I see a bee going from flower to flower to flower to flower to flower, all I can say is, you know what to do. You're not confused. You're not asking the bumblebee, what should I do? Bumblebee is doing its own thing, you are doing your own thing, and you may have a much smaller brain than I do, I hope, but you can get confused a lot less than I do. Because you know when human beings have abandoned humanity, when human beings have abandoned the very core that holds them together, that glues us all together, which is peace, for ideas such as mutually assured destruction. I find that really funny for some reason. Mad. If I die, I'll kill you just before you kill me. Does it work? I don't know. I guess nobody had tried a different approach. And this is the approach people came up with. Justifications that we have been fighting on the face of this earth for a really, really long time. So somehow, because we've been doing it a really long time, it's okay. It's like your kid who won't stop wearing diapers. And there he is, 50 years old, the president of a country, and shows up with the diapers. And it's okay, because he has worn them all his life. There is a point where we have to evolve, where we have to say, I am a human being and I have responsibilities. Call to action, pledge to peace, the Water and Food Awards, to go to human beings, to recognize their needs, not coming there. One of the foundations that I have, the Prem Rawat Foundation, their basic principle, their logo, their call is dignity, peace, and prosperity. Whatever we do, we cannot have so much arrogance in it. We know something you don't know, so listen, here we go. No, not with arrogance, but with humility we have to approach. The sustainability has been proven that to be sustainable, you have to be humble. Arrogance only goes so far. After that, arrogance has a dead stop. To understand each other, to understand that the goals fundamentally of every human being on the face of this earth are to be happy, to enjoy dignity, have peace, and ultimately have prosperity. The formula, peace and then prosperity, was written out a long, long time ago. Today, we have so much, and yet we have so little. We don't understand what it means to share. We don't. All we can come up with our knowledge, with our education, is how it cannot happen. People say, when I go and I talk to people about peace, they tell me, and this is what they've been telling me for a long time. You know, starting at 4 years of age, talking about peace is no joke. It really is not a joke. And one of the weirdest things that happened, that I saw happening, was people were making up lies. And here's a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, I've never taken a break from it, would go, why are you saying those things? Why are you saying those things? Today, when I meet those critics, this is what I have to say to them, very humbly. Okay, with your knowledge, with your understanding, with your expertise, you have come up with the outlook of why it won't happen. I invite you now to come up how to make it happen. And this is the critical thinking. Right now, the blame mode is on. Everybody wants to blame somebody else. It's the corporations. It's the governments. It's the this. It's my neighbors. It's the Indians. It's the Chinese. It's the Americans. It's the South Americans. And for me, please, stop the blaming. We all live on the same world. We see these barriers that don't exist. I don't know about you, but when I fly, I look down, you see, and I can see on the map on the airplane where I'm crossing a barrier, and I look down, and there is none. There is none. These are all arbitrary barriers that have been created, and everybody strongly believes in them. And sometimes I feel, I don't know if you know about this little collar they have for dogs. You put them on, they're electronic collars, and if the dog moves too far from the house, it gives him a jolt and he comes back. I mean, it's like, that's what's happened to us, but we don't have a collar. It's an automatic jolt. Oh my God, I'm somewhere else. Well, I can assure you that immigration is not going to go away, and I can assure you that these boundaries are not going to drop off. But do they have to be in our hearts too? Really, they have to be in our hearts too? Do they have to be in our understanding too? Because look, when this planet suffers, we are all going to suffer. We cannot afford to cut the same branch we are sitting on. And this is what is happening. And it keeps happening again and again and again. When there is prosperity, everybody forgets. And then when the troubled time comes, everybody goes, ooh, spooky, 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 spooky. Today we talk about global warming, and that is absolutely, in my humble opinion, absolutely the wrong word to use. Global warming. I know it's scientifically correct and everything else, but it really should have been called weather anomaly. Because if it was called weather anomaly, a lot more people would go, yep, that's pretty abnormal. But today what people do is they go, warming? It's cold! And so it becomes a joke for people. It cannot be. Really, people have to be awakened all around the world to the cause that we all share. I have a voice that has been used to bring the message of peace to many, many people for a long, long time. I would also like, as a person, I also felt the responsibility that people need to be educated, and I created the Prem Rawat Foundation. I have been able to be a part of the Water and Food Awards, and all of these things are really just a big, big pie of the same thing, the peace. Different manifestations for the people around the world. Because I think when people start to say, well, peace is their job, and this is our job, and this is our job, then all we are doing is dividing people even more. No, I invite every single human being on the face of this earth to participate, whoever you are, to participate in helping to bring peace on this earth. I invite every single human being to participate, to alleviate each other's misery of the basic items that we need. We need good shelter. We need clean air. Please, we need clean air. We need clean, good, nutritious, sustainable food. And we need to stop completely contaminating and overusing the most incredible resource that we have, that is water. 70% This earth is water, 70% you are water. When you waste water, you waste yourself. And this is what keeps on happening in this world. Am I a good deed doer? I would never like to say that, never like to think that, because it is not about just doing good deeds. It says humanitarian. Do you know what that means? Do you think this is about a charity? No, this has to come from the deepest, most heartfelt place. It has to come with a recognition. It isn't something that you're going to do in your spare time, so you have something to say in case you end up in heaven and the guy goes, have you done something good? So you can say, yeah, I was involved with water and food award. No. This is about creating heaven here. See? And that's one of the big problems we have. Everybody's like, oh, when I die, I'll get to heaven. Can we have heaven here, please? First. Not have violence, which everybody resorts to violence. Why? I thought we could talk. No. First thing, violence. Violence against wife, violence against children, violence against each other. I mean, okay, enough. You've done it. It's like a bad teenage kid. Now you have to grow up. It's time to really grow up. When I see the efforts being made by an 11-year-old, I commend that. It's incredible. I too was an 11-year-old once. See? But I also see my time isn't over, and his time has begun. So, we both get to walk on that road. Not when people say, oh, this is only for the young people. No, it's not. If you've got one more day to live, you're on. You're on. If you're 99, you're on. This is about living human beings, living for the living planet, taking from the living planet what it wants to offer us, not by force, making sure that this living planet heals so that it can go on to abundantly give till it can. It is being the gardener. It is being the gardener. And this is what we have to be. Peace will always be an important factor. Generosity will always be an important factor. And knowledge will be always an important factor, because knowledge is the only thing that can remove the stupid ignorance. So, not blaming, but taking action, having this opportunity in our lives, and being a part of this incredibly noble cause. So I applaud all of you. Thank you very much.
You're going to vote. Thank you so much, Prem. Wonderful, wonderful. Please stay with us, because we are building up to our finale, are we not, Hele?
Yes, and can I please invite Her Royal Highness and Tina up on the stage.
So as you know, there are just 2 finalists left. And this was the hardest one of all, apparently, splitting these 2. And they are both in a couple of envelopes. And where are they?
Here they are. Woo!
Ah, hello. Your Royal Highness. So, to present the runner-up, please, Your Royal Highness, if you could kindly open the envelope and read out the finalist.
And the runner-up is India, Holistic Firewood.
Please welcome Dr. Harper from MSSR Foundation, India. Congratulations.
So, for those of you who are here this afternoon, you will all know who our winner is. But Prem, if you could kindly formally open the envelope and read out who that is, please.
Suspense. Shouldn't be. The final winner, Zimbabwe African Center for Holistic Management.
Woo! Hey! Woo! Precious Piri and Huggins Mataga.
I would like to now give this very special award. This was specifically designed, this sculpture, by Mons Muller for Water and Food Awards. It's an exceptional piece. It represents, I believe, a vessel that can hold food, that can hold water. And I really hope that with this award, it signifies a part of our hearts that wants to give to those who so bravely have been doing what they have been doing, and it gives them the inspiration to continue doing so. Thank you.
Say something?
Yes, you're welcome.
All protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, I really feel humbled. I feel humbled because, Precious, I think we have been made to receive 2 awards. That's what I'm feeling. The 5 finalists, together with us, received what I regard as the first award. And in our room that we attended this afternoon, the presidential room, I think, sir, you talked about the first award, and you repeated it right here. Some of you in the room might know the problems we had of coming to this ceremony, but eventually it has happened. So the first award, I take it, is the sharing that we have been able to do with the rest of the finalists. And this award, you talked about it again in the same room. And you said, whoever we are giving these awards, we wish we are not giving awards, but whoever we are giving awards, the reason why you were saying we wish we do not give awards is because of the same thing that they have said. From the 5 finalists, we cannot pick one. So you said it is only for the purpose of them, whoever is given that award, expanding that idea we have heard about. So I will, on behalf of the Africa Center for Holistic Management, on behalf of Alan Savory as well, who is not here, and on behalf of the Savory Institute. And last but not least, since you heard me talking about the sharing, and we are going to be sharing, I am also receiving this award on behalf of us in this room all, because we've been sharing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Precious and Huggins. And I will never forget this afternoon's conversation with you and a lot of young people and everybody else that joined the conversation, that we talked about what is really, we talked about how to understand the project. And one of the things came out is make sure you put the water in your pocket and not waste it. Don't put a cap on, because when the rain drops, it goes up the side and it drops down in one place and you waste the water. That's not a good idea. So put the water in your pocket, don't waste it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And to round the evening off, there is a beautiful piece for those of you who know Holst's The Planets. One of the planets is Jupiter, the bringer of jollity. And there is a wonderful segment from that which has been set to words and set to music. And certainly those of you who are rugby fans will recognize this. It has now become the theme tune for the Rugby World Cup, and it symbolizes the gathering of nations. And so to sing for us, World in Union, please welcome back the Bromley Youth Singers, conducted by Simon Zundermann. Thank you. Thank you so, so much. It was truly wonderful, and it's been an amazing evening.
Yes, it's been wonderful having you all here, and wonderful to feel the enthusiasm. And on your way out, we will put out the harvest from this afternoon, so you can check it out and be reminded.
Definitely. And there are many people to thank for this. As we heard earlier, this has been an effort by volunteers. So it's hard to imagine actually the number of people and the number of hours and the amount of love and care and attention that has gone into putting together this event, and of course the phenomenal efforts of the finalists and what they've been doing year in, year out. It truly is incredible. So there are just too many people to name individually, but thank you all and bless you all. It's just been incredible.
And then there's all the sponsors, Paul.
Totally. As you can see, there's just some extraordinary organizations behind this, and thank you all for everything.
And don't forget to be with us in Milan next year for the Food Award.
Well, thanks to Paul and Hella. Justified applause for everybody. Welcome back to the balcony, just for a moment. Some wonderful stories, wonderful music. And I was going to ask you, Stephen, about the winner, but in the end everybody's a winner, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. By making one person a winner, we can all become winners.
What's been the narrative for you? You've been looking for a narrative before we began. What's been the narrative that you can take away?
I think it's coming that we're all on the same planet. We need to have a discussion. By talking and by concentrating on giving what we need, which is water and food and shelter, that we can actually develop the human experiment. And it's not a bad thing, it's just a wonderful thing to do. So why not get involved?
I was going to say that some of these stories are not necessarily in the news, except maybe locally, not in the news globally, but they are newsworthy, aren't they?
They absolutely are, and I think it's a new kind of news. It's a kind of a feel-good news, but at the same time, it's giving a perspective. We have a job to do, let's do it together.
And what do you hope the takeaway will be for people who've been watching?
What I hope the takeaway...
Across the world as well.
Across the world. What I hope the takeaway will be, well, that people will understand the importance of Water and Food Award, and if they have water and food, to share, but not just to share, but to get involved in making the soil and the country and the place just more productive for the coming generations.
Stephen of Water and Food Award, thank you very much for joining us, and cheerio, as they say here, from Westminster Central Hall in London. Hope to see you next year.